I'm really tired today. I'm exhausted. We spent the morning doing chores, and frankly, it just wore me out. Okay. Someone commented that they really appreciate the way that I'm so determined to make this work the way that I want it to, as opposed to strictly sticking to the algorithm. And I think that's a really interesting idea because I'm not necessarily trying to not stick to the algorithm. I'm just trying to not do things in a way that I don't like doing them, which maybe those two things are synonymous. I'm not really sure. But I find myself at another crossroads, another instance where I feel like things just aren't going the way that I want them to. And hey, when it's not working, you got to change something, right? That's the fundamental lesson I've learned over the course of my YouTube and self-improvement journey is if it's not working, you got to change something. If you don't like what you're doing, change what you're doing, okay? It's really not that complicated. It's just not always easy. And frankly, I don't think I like what I'm doing, you know? I think there's something telling maybe about the fact that I say I want to be a streamer and then never stream. It never even really crosses my mind to do so, really, kind of at all. I don't know. Maybe that's just not what I'm supposed to be doing. It doesn't, it like crosses my mind, but I don't ever feel this real desire to go do it. And maybe that's because of what I feel like I might have to stream or something like that. But you would think if it was something I really wanted to do, at this point, I feel confident that I would do it because whenever I really want to do something, I do it, okay? I really want to be in better shape. I'm down 12 pounds over the course of 75 hard. It hasn't even been a month yet, and I've lost 12 pounds, right? I really wanted to do that. I don't want to go walk every day or, count my calories, but I really want the results of those things, so I go and do what they require, So I do the stuff that I know I need to do, that I want to do, really. And maybe that's like want long term, not want in the short term. In the short term, I want to like crush a Domino's pizza, okay, and drink a gallon of Big Red or something. But instead, I what I really want is the long term feeling of being thinner and healthier and fitter, right? And something about this is just not the whole channel is just not hitting that, okay? I don't know what it is. It's hard to explain, right? I'm not sure how much of this is rational. Probably none of it, realistically. None of it is rational, because the rational person would say, hey, why don't you just go do what you've been doing that was making you a lot of money, or a lot, relatively speaking, to what I'm making now. And I say, I don't want to do that. And they're like, well, sometimes you got to do stuff you don't want to do. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. Why? Why would I do anything I don't want to do? And it's not the same. I don't want to do it as I don't want to run. Like, I don't really want to run. Who the fuck really loves? There's very few people who just love running, but they want the result of what running would bring them, right? And so they do it anyway. I don't want to make videos the old way in like it feels like torture. Like I hate like going to school, okay? Maybe you can't relate to this if you're not like me, but the idea of going to school again makes horrible thoughts, okay? Horrible, unending torment is what comes to mind when I think about that, right? It traumatized me to go to high school and middle school and elementary school. The required 12 years of schooling in the United States, or 13 or whatever it is, that traumatized me. Point blank, period. There are still times where I wake up in the morning or go to bed at night and I think, man, I don't want to go to school tomorrow. I'm 27, bro. I haven't been in school in like 9 years, and I still sometimes think, damn, I don't want to go to school, okay? And making videos the old way, or at least doing Overwatch content or whatever, it made me feel the same way at some point. It got to that point where I was like, man, I just don't want to fucking do this. And I don't not want to do what's on this channel, but I also don't love what I'm doing, right? Like there's no fire in my soul to record a tier list about dangerous animals, okay? I don't have the passion for that, right? It's a commodity. Anybody can boot up OBS and do what I did, and it has no value to the world. And that's probably why it doesn't get any, they haven't gotten any views. They're not worth anything to anybody, right? They're meaningless entertainment that anybody could make. I'm not jinxy, right? I'm not so energy. I'm not filled with energy. I'm not yelling. I'm not screaming. Okay. I'm not an entertainer in that way. I don't think. I think, a lot of value to give the world, but I don't think I'm providing nearly any of it doing what I'm doing right now, right? I look at the channel and it's just a spaghetti thrown at the wall none of it really singing to my soul in the way that I feel like maybe it should. I don't really know. It's hard to think about and balance those things because it sounds unreasonable or foolish to just abandon what's making you money or what could make you a lot of money. But I don't want to be miserable and make a lot of money. I want to be overjoyed with the fact that I'm alive and make a lot of money, right? And I think those are two very different ways of being. I don't know. I'm willing to do things I don't like doing to get the outcome that I want, but I'm not willing to hate the entire like vehicle that takes me to where I want to go, if that makes sense, I suppose. And while I don't hate this one that I'm in currently, I don't love it, and it doesn't feel like there's any, I don't know. I don't want to say it feels like there's no chance of success, but it feels like what I'm doing right now or what I'm trying is just not, it's all the same thing basically, and it's not working. Okay, I'm not changing enough. And I don't know what that really means or what this will amount to or anything like that. But I do think I need to make a big change. Try something very different. And maybe the problem with making content the old way was not that I hated making it the old way. It's that I was making it about something I didn't care about, and that it felt like torture to go research which Overwatch heroes are hated the most, okay, by the community. Maybe that felt like torture because I didn't give a fuck about that. Maybe it wouldn't feel like torture to research or write something that I do really care about. I don't know. I've never tried it, surprisingly. Okay, we just found something that worked and did it until we could quit our jobs because, fuck, who wants to work for someone else, you know? But I feel like there are things that I care about a lot. And maybe I'm afraid, in a way, to give myself permission to talk and care about those things publicly, because it's really easy to talk about gaming when you don't really care about gaming, when you're not a gamer, when none of my soul is on the line, right? None of who I am is in that because I don't care about. I like Overwatch. I love it even. It's my favorite game of all time, but I don't love it, right? It's not a part of who I am, I don't feel like. I would never introduce or include that in who I am. I would never say I, am an Overwatch player, right? It's not a part of who I am. I don't tell people I'm an Overwatch YouTuber. I say I'm a YouTuber, and then they would go, "Oh, that's cool. What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, gaming." And they're like, "Oh, that's cool. Like, what? Do you just play games or something?" And I'm like, "No, it's more like informational content." Overwatch doesn't even exist in there. I don't even include it. It's never like, "Oh, I make videos about Overwatch." That's never how I introduce who I am, right? And maybe that's the real problem here, is that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I put up I use these other things that are easier because I think other people like them, like gaming and stuff like that. I think other people like watching that or whatever, and I try to appease people in that way while also defending myself and never putting my heart on the line, or like things I actually care about on the line, because I don't talk about them. I only talk about stuff that I think other people care about, or that I care about loosely, but not for real. They're not a part of who I am. So maybe that's what needs to change. When I think about some of the stuff I might want to do, and I think about, what if I had to spend 20 hours on this video? Would I care? And I'm like, maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't care. Maybe I would be excited to do the work. I don't know. I don't know what type of content to even make. If I chose the path that I'm currently thinking of, which I'm gonna hold it close to my chest for the moment. Would I want to make it in this way? I really like doing this, okay? I like just talking and being authentic and myself and not putting on any kind of front and not writing a full script, right? I think this style of content is really cool and interesting in a way that a scripted video essay is not, right? And I don't really want to do that. So maybe there's some middle ground where I make content like this with maybe a little bit more work put into the beginning. Before the video is made, I really think about what I want to talk about and how I want to say it and what I'm going to say, and make sure that I'm providing real, true value, and then combine this style of content with something I actually give a fuck about, which is not a tier list about the most dangerous animals on the planet, unfortunately. Okay? So that's where my head's at. That's what I'm thinking. What does that mean for me or the channel or whatever? I have no fucking idea, bro. You have watched, if you've watched these videos, okay, you've watched me wing it from day one to make this happen and figure it out. And I've been incredibly raw and authentic in telling you exactly how I'm feeling and thinking every single day. So this is just another one of those. I'm just telling you where I'm at. And if things change, if I decide I don't want to work on this channel anymore and start a new one or do something else, I'll tell you and I'll point you to it and tell you where you can find it, because I feel like I have built a real relationship with some people here who genuinely want to see me succeed, and I'm very thankful for that. But if you don't care or don't want to see that either, that's fine. You know, I don't expect the people who really cared about the Clash tier list to stick around when I'm not making them anymore. But fuck, who wants to make Clash tier list? Okay, Clash fucking sucks. Supercell sucks. They ruined the fuck out of that game, which is disappointing because honestly, I like Clash just as much as I like Overwatch. But again, I would never introduce myself as a Clash player. That would never be a part of my identity. And even being a gamer, I wouldn't even necessarily say is part of my identity. So maybe it's about time I actually put my identity on display for real and actually talk about the things that I care about, and lean into that more. Because I think there's a space for somebody like me to exist in the world. And I wish I had someone who shared the values that I have now, but also shared some of the values I had before and kind of acted as a middle ground between what exists in the world. Because I feel like there's a space not filled, and I had to carve my own way through that a little bit and listen to people who I had to listen to people who I agree with about some things, and then listen to people who I didn't disagree, like I don't really agree with about some things, but gave me a lot of information I needed to become who I am. And I think I can maybe bridge that gap. That's what I'm thinking. Make of that what you will. But I'll make another video tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow, right? So peace, love, thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.